The price of empty land. The sun rose slow over the eastern plains, painting the grassland gold and amber. John Wesley Thorne stood on the porch of his ranch house, a cup of coffee steaming in his weathered hands. He had built this place with his own sweat and determination. Every log, every nail, every fence post represented a dream taking shape in the wilderness. The house was simple but sturdy. 2 rooms, a stone chimney, and a roof that kept out the rain. Behind it stood a barn for his horses and a small corral where he broke wild mustangs to sell to the army. The land stretched empty in all directions, endless grass rolling like a frozen ocean toward distant mountains. John had chosen this spot carefully 3 years ago. It was unclaimed territory, a strip of land between the recognized borders of Kansas and Colorado. No government jurisdiction meant no taxes, no land office fees, no questions asked. He called it freedom. Others called it no man's land. His wife, Sarah, had come west with him, trading a comfortable life in Missouri for this uncertain frontier. She planted a small garden near the house, coaxing vegetables from the stubborn soil. Their daughter, Emma, just 7 years old, collected wildflowers and chased grasshoppers through the tall grass. They were alone out here, 40 miles from the nearest settlement, but they had each other. John took a long sip of coffee and watched the morning light spread across his land. He felt a deep satisfaction, the kind that comes from building something from nothing. This was his kingdom, small as it was. This was his legacy. But the land remembered things that John Wesley Thorne had forgotten. The problems started small, easy to dismiss. A broken fence here, scattered horses there. John blamed coyotes or the wind. Then he found the tracks. Unshod horses, many of them, circling his property in the night. The prints were fresh, deliberate, forming a pattern he did not want to acknowledge. Sarah noticed them too. She said nothing at first, but John saw the worry in her eyes when she pulled Emma closer during meals. At night, she checked the door 3 times before bed. "Maybe we should go to town for a while," she said one evening as they sat by the fire. "Just until things settle down." John shook his head. "This is our home. I won't be driven off by shadows and suspicion." But they were not shadows. They were Cheyenne, and they had names, histories, and memories that ran deeper than any fence line. The land John had claimed so confidently was not empty. It had never been empty. For generations, the Cheyenne had followed the buffalo across these plains. They had hunted here, raised their children here, buried their dead in the hills John could see from his porch. This grass, this water, this earth was woven into their stories and songs, and John Wesley Thorne had built his ranch in the middle of their ancient path, blocking access to a spring that had sustained the Cheyenne people for countless seasons. 2 years earlier, the territorial militia had attacked a peaceful Cheyenne village at Sand Creek. Women and children had been killed, shelters burned, sacred objects destroyed. The survivors scattered, carrying their grief and rage across the plains. Among them was a man named Red Wolf, who had lost his wife and 2 young sons in the massacre. He had watched his world burn and made a vow that the soldiers and settlers who brought this violence would pay the price. Red Wolf looked at John's ranch and saw not a home but an invasion. He saw another piece of his people's land taken without permission, without respect. He saw the spring his grandmother had taught him to find as a boy, now fenced off and claimed by a stranger. The rage that had burned in him since Sand Creek found new fuel. John learned all of this too late, from a traveling preacher who stopped at the ranch for water. The man's face was grave as he shared the news spreading through the scattered settlements. Cheyenne raiding parties were moving through the territory, striking at isolated ranches and homesteads. It was revenge for Sand Creek, the preacher said. It was justice for broken treaties and stolen land. "You need to leave this place," the preacher warned. "You're too far from help out here. When they come, and they will come, no one will hear your calls." John felt cold despite the summer heat. He thought of Sarah's worried glances, of Emma playing in the grass, unaware of the danger gathering like storm clouds. He thought of all the work he had done, all the dreams he had built with his hands. That night, he made his decision. They would leave at dawn, take what they could carry, and head for the fort. The ranch could wait. His family could not, but dawn came with thunder. Not from the sky, but from the earth itself. John woke to the sound of hoofbeats, dozens of them, surrounding the house. He rushed to the window and saw them in the gray morning light. Cheyenne warriors on horseback, painted and armed, forming a circle around his property. In the center, watching the house with eyes like flint, sat Red Wolf. Sarah grabbed Emma and pulled her close. John took down his rifle, his hands shaking. He knew he could not fight them all. He knew this was the end of everything he had built, but then something unexpected happened. Red Wolf raised his hand and the warriors stopped. No arrows flew. No shots were fired. The morning hung suspended, balanced on the edge of violence. John made a choice. He set down his rifle. He opened the door and stepped outside, unarmed, his hands visible and empty. Sarah called his name in fear, but he kept walking until he stood 10 feet from Red Wolf's horse. For a long moment, the two men looked at each other. John saw the grief carved into Red Wolf's face, the weight of losses too terrible to name. Red Wolf saw a man standing between his family and death, choosing vulnerability over violence. "This is your land," John said quietly. "I did not understand. I did not ask permission. I built here because the land seemed empty, but I was wrong. Land is never empty. I am sorry for my ignorance. I am sorry for what was done to your people. I cannot undo Sand Creek, but I can leave this place. We will go and we will not return." Red Wolf sat motionless, considering. The other warriors waited for his signal. The moment stretched, fragile as morning mist. Then Red Wolf spoke, his words measured and firm. "You speak truth when many do not. You stand without weapons when many would shoot first. This does not erase what was done to my people, but it shows you are different from the soldiers who kill without honor. Go now, take your family. Do not return to this place. Tell others what you have learned here. Tell them the land remembers everything." John nodded slowly. "I will tell them. I promise you that." By noon, the Thorne family's wagon was packed and moving east. John looked back once at the ranch he had built, the dream he was leaving behind. Sarah reached over and took his hand. Emma asked where they were going. "Somewhere we're supposed to be," John said softly. "Somewhere we're welcome." The ranch stood empty as the sun climbed high. The grass grew tall around the fence posts. The spring flowed free again, and the land at last could breathe.